everyone, Teeny here. I hope your day is going wonderful. I'm so glad you're joining me. Well, today I have a fun project to share with you. We're using a collaboration stamp set between Simon Says Stamp and Paper Rose Studio. The stamp set is beautiful. It's called Thankful Florals. Lots of beautiful greetings in here. You get this beautiful floral swag along with a couple little extra leaf flourishes, and I'm super excited about this. This set here is sold individually or is sold as a bundle, and this is a limited supply, so when they're gone there won't be restocked. So you may want to just stop and run on over and get yours today before they're gone. Okay, let's jump in and get started. We are going to do a little bit of watercoloring, and I'm going to watercolor on some of my Ranger Distress watercolor cardstock. These are A2 panels. Now this cardstock has a textured side and a smooth side. Today I'm going to be stamping and heat embossing on the smooth side. I'm going to put that aside and we're going to bring in our stamping positioner. We're going to stamp this beautiful floral. Place it down here on the bottom. I'm going to treat my paper with my anti-static powder. I'm going to be stamping today with my Simon Says Stamp white pigment ink, but if you have a watermark ink, you could use that also. This was just handy. We will give that a good press. Wonderful. I'm going to go over my ink with my white embossing powder. And then I'll use my heat gun and we'll go ahead and melt this. Hard to tell that my image is there, but it's there. Okay, we're going to be watercoloring with some Simon Says Stamp Pawsitively saturated ink cubes. And whenever I do watercoloring, it's always nice to heat emboss because the walls of the embossing kind of contains the watercolor. It makes it really easy. Okay, I'm actually on the reverse side of our stamp set. We have a protective cover. I'm going to use this to do my watercoloring on. It's just going to make things a little bit easier. Now, we're going to make some blue flowers today. So I have Simon Says Stamp's Surf ink. And then I also have some Simon Says Stamp Mist ink. I'm going to use my Distress sprayer, and I'm going to add a little water here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is pick up some water here with my paintbrush. Simon has these in the shop, and they're really great paintbrushes, and they're very inexpensive too. Okay, I'm going to start by adding just water to one of the flowers. We're going to do one of the flowers at a time. So I have water in one of the flowers. Now's where the magic starts. I'm going to start by taking a little bit of my blue ink, and I'm just going to add color. Around the flower petals. Basically what we're doing first is coloring in the flower petals. So you can go all the way to the edge if you want. Okay, there's a lot of water in there, there's a lot of movement. Okay, while it's like that, you want to take your darker color, pick up some ink, and I'm going to go in the center of the flower, and I'm going to do a circle. And you just see how that color just kind of spreads out. Let me zoom in a little bit more. And that's what you want. You want the watercolor just to do the work. I'm going to actually go in the middle a little bit more. And really, that's all there is to this flower. I'm going to pick up some more water here. And now we're going to work on this next flower. The top facing flowers are a lot easier for me than the side facing flowers, because you can just go in the center with it and let the color do the work for you. Now the side facing flowers, you have to find the center of the flower and then basically do the same thing. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of my lighter blue ink. I'm going to water it down a little bit more. I'm going to go over it. I love that you can watercolor with Simon inks. Makes it really easy and really nice. Okay, now you see how the flowers are next to each other? What I'm going to do is pick up the darker ink, make sure my brush is nice and wet, and I'm going to go along the edge of that next flower. And this is going to differentiate the two flowers. You see there? And then I'm also going to trail up a little bit in the flower center. And that's really all there is to it. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe off the ink from my packaging. Now I do want to bring in a little bit of brown. I'm using my gingerbread. We'll add some ink here. Add some water. And now, I'm going to wipe off my brush here. We'll pick up a little water, add a little bit of brown, and I'm going to go again in a circle motion of this center flower. Adding brown to blue. I love the color. So we have a little bit of brown in here now, and I'm going to do the same thing along the edge where we added the darker ink. I'm going to add just a little lighter touch of brown, and then also in this flower center here and on the edge. And that's all there is to the flowers. I'm going to keep my brown on here because I'm actually going to add a little bit more brown. And then now we're going to do the leaves. There's not much to the leaves here, but we're going to add some cabbage, and I'm also going to add some field. Add a little more water. The leaves are going to be really easy to color in, so we'll just pick up some ink and add some color to these. This way we know this bigger leaf, I'm going to add a little bit more water because I'm going to want some more movement on that. We just want to make sure that our leaves... Okay, so now we have green on our leaves. Now I'm going to pick up a little water and go to the darker green, which again is field. And then I'm going to add color just at the very base. And all I'm doing is some tapping motion and letting the water spread out on its own. Sometimes you might want to pull it up a little bit. And then we can just add a little bit of ink here. I just like to tap at the very base and let the water just pool where it wants to go. These are a little bit darker than this, so I'm going to pick up some more. Now we're almost done. It doesn't take no time at all. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of that brown, and I'm just going to add a couple little taps along the edge. And I'm going to add a little bit more to the big leaf here. Okay. And that is all there is to that. I can actually wipe this off, put this back on my stamp set so I don't lose it. Okay, I'm going to give this a second to dry, and I'm actually going to use the other part of the panel here. And with this half, what we're going to do is do a little die cutting. I'm going to die cut out a tag. This is the Simon Says Stamp and the CC Designs Nested Tags die set. I'm going to use the middle size actually. And I'm, again, die cutting it out on the smooth side. And then I also am going to take some craft cardstock. This is Nina Desert Storm. I'm going to use that and die cut out the reinforcement. Okay, so we have our tag, and the only reason I'm using the watercolor cardstock was because it matches my imagery. Okay, so it's the same color. I'm going to add some adhesive behind here, just because we're stamping in the middle of my stamping positioner, and I do not want this to move. We'll place this, and then I'm going to take the image that we used for our watercoloring, and I'm going to add this at an angle here. And then we will ink this up with my VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink. We'll just go over this. And we will stamp this. We're going to add the same ink to our greeting. We'll give this a good press. And there we go. And that is all there is to that. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue, and we are going to glue down our reinforcements. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my imagery. The Thankful Florals does have a coordinating die set. I happen not to have it, so I'm going to cut this out. Wonderful. And then I do want to mention that I did just trim away the flourish here. Okay, that was right here. I did that because it was white and you couldn't see it anyway. I'm going to take my image, we're going to flip it over, and we are going to add a couple foam squares here, and then we're going to layer this over our tag. I'm also going to take some white twine and I'm just going to thread it through our tag here, and then I'll put some foam squares behind the tag. We'll just thread that. I'll tie a bow with it once it's connected to my card base. Okay, and I'll put this to the side. What we're going to do next is do a little stamping and embossing. I have an A2 panel of Simon Says Stamp's Sea Glass cardstock, and I also have a background clean stamp. This is the soft plaid background. I just love this. I'm going to put this in my stamping positioner, and we're going to go for a tone-on-tone look. I'm going to be using Pinkfresh Studios Ocean Breeze ink. The only reason I'm using this ink today is because it's a larger ink pad. If you wanted to use the Surf ink, I think it would be a great substitute. And then I'll take my panel, place it face down, and then I'm just going to close the lid and give it a good press. Wonderful. Okay, now I mentioned embossing, so I'm bringing in an embossing folder. This is the Simon Says Stamp's Dotted Diamond. I'm using a strip of white cardstock. This is a 1 3/4 inch strip by 5.5 inches, and I'm just going to emboss this. I wanted a little texture in my card, and I think this is going to work out great. Now we're almost ready to put this together. I'm going to use this as a guide. This is going to go over here. Okay, but I'm going to do a little bit more stamping. I want to bring in a little bit more black. And so using the leaf flourishes from our stamp set, I'm just going to use the bottom corner one. And using my VersaFine Clair, we are going to add some extra leafy details in our background here. So I'm going to stamp one up here and maybe one right next to it. And I want to stamp a couple over here. I'm going to use my heat gun, and we're going to dry this, and then I'll attach this panel directly to the front of my card base. I went ahead and layered my embossed panel about 3/4 of an inch from the right and about 1/2 of an inch up from the bottom here. Okay, so we have a little of the leaves peeking out from here and here. I went ahead and put some foam behind my tag, and we're going to layer this. We will tack this down, give it a press, and then I can tie my bow. Now we're almost done. I'm going to add a little extra sparkle. I'm using my Simon Says Stamp Prism Pawsitively Dazzling Gems. I love the facets of these, and the color is going to be beautiful against that blue. What I like to do is place it first and then add glue. Lovely. And that finishes off my card project for today. Pretty Just Because floral card using the collaboration stamp set for STAMPtember with Paper Rose Studio and Simon Says Stamp. Get yours today before they are gone. And again, this comes by itself or it comes with a combo, so it comes with the die set also. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I have 2 more videos that you guys might be interested here. If you guys are new and like the content that you see, click that subscribe button and also the notification bell. That way for future videos, be notified. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It sure does help the channel. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.